because we have new members at the beginning of the semester, I'm gonna make this presentation is gonna be introducing the club again. And it's not the same presentation that I gave last semester because the club's evolved since then, and there's some new stuff too. Oh, first thing, if you're not on the listserv, you need to tell me so that I can put you on it. The listserv, you can't be on the club without being on the listserv because it's very important, and we need to tell you when stuff happens. And there's no way for you to subscribe yourself or even to unsubscribe yourself, so you have to tell me to do it for you. Just blame the university for that. So this is our basic mission, to help you get in a job in the industry. And I wonder how many of you can't see because the camera isn't working, or because the cameraman isn't. So yeah, that's the only goal of this club is to get you a job in the industry. And to get you in, the only thing you really need is drive. I've shown this picture a million times last semester because this really is the central theme of the club, to be self-motivated and to be driven about working in the industry. It's very, very crucial to getting in. Why is it so crucial? Because making a game is very hard. And if you don't believe me, you can talk to the number of game development studios that have closed over the years, or games that have failed to even finish getting made. Like there are so many games that don't even make it all the way to the end of development just because they managed it so poorly. The big challenge is not just programming, although that is a challenge. It's also just planning and scheduling and managing your resources and how much time you have. There's a common saying that video game development is the hardest form of software engineering, and I'm not sure how accurate that is because it's probably NASA with the Air Force would disagree, but it still has some truth to it, especially if you're making it by yourself and you're just really working hard. And making a good game is even harder because they say that if you know anything about game development, they say that one of the most important things that you can do in development is to polish the game, which is to remove all the little bugs and design problems that aren't very big, but they still really hamper the player experience at the end. Like, if you've ever played a game, like a half-finished game on Newgrounds or something, you know how it's like to play an unpolished game. And polish can easily be overlooked when you're dealing with the challenges of regular game development. So yes, it's even harder than expected. And probably the biggest reason why you need to be driven is because the industry isn't doing so good right now. These are just 3 articles I found from the last 3 weeks of closures in the industry. It's still hit really hard by the recession. Over the break, I actually met a family friend introduced me to a producer who worked in the industry for like, I'm not sure if it was 20 or 30 years, or 40, but he worked for a really long time in the industry, and the studios that he's been working for went down recently, and he's been unemployed, and he's actually being forced to move to Austin just to find a job, hopefully to get a job in Sony Online Entertainment. They're gonna move even though they don't know whether or not they're gonna get the job. That's how hard it is to get in. And of course, with all the people getting laid off, the competition for each individual job goes up. And you really need to stand out from the crowd. And no one's gonna want to hire a lazy, unmotivated guy to work for them. And even if you do get in, you probably won't go anywhere. You'll just be another grunt programmer or grunt artist or whatever. So before I talk about the club structure, I want to mention what you should be doing to show how driven you are, or things that driven people do. And the club structure is designed around this to help facilitate these habits. platforms that you can choose. And even if you don't like programming, you should at least choose GameMaker, which is free and lets you make games without programming at all. It's actually pretty nice. I've been messing around with it. C++ is a big one. If you're gonna go into the games industry for programming, C++ is the language to know. It's like the standard. Java is what the university teaches, so you could probably make games with that. It'll be fun. Flash, I heard the other day that Flash is actually a great platform for beginning development because Flash will allow you to. It's easy to learn, but it'll also allow you to publish your game easily to a lot of people. All you have to do is upload the Flash file to the website and to some website, maybe Newgrounds or something. And a ton of people will be able to play your game, and you'll get tons of critiques and hopefully good feedback. But the important thing is that you start making games because it isn't until you start making games that you realize how hard it is to make games. One of the biggest challenges with teaching game development, or at least the game development teachers that I talk to, they say that it's always very hard to persuade students about how hard it is to make games and how serious you need to be about it before you can get into it. Because then you'll end up starting these huge projects that will never get done. And it's not pretty watching that happen. So that's why Flash is good, because it does a lot of work for you and you can make games quickly. You can get them out of the way and especially for the web, Flash it helps you keep your scope small. So you make small projects. Educate yourself. These are just a handful of books that I found. Some of them I've been recording because they sounded interesting, and others like that math book I just found while looking for pictures. But it's not just about reading books. Well, books are great because they provide a lot of deep knowledge, but especially for programming, you really need to practice. And any of these skills really, they all demand practice. The university definitely won't teach you everything you need to know about game development. And it really is your responsibility to make sure you learn all that you need to know, or else you're gonna, when you do break in finally, you're gonna learn like, oh man, there's so much stuff I have to learn that no one ever taught me. And you don't wanna be learning on the job, because then that's not only do you waste a lot of time when you look back and you're like, man, I wish I had learned that earlier, then I wouldn't have had to make all those mistakes. But it's also been just to get a head start and prove to yourself and everyone else that you are dedicated. Plus, learning is fun. Learn about the industry. This is usually overlooked a bit. People need to learn more about the business of making games. Some great resources I found are Gamma Sutra, the website. Everyone should know that. Should know about that. It's like the biggest game developer news site out there. And this is a copy of Game Developer magazine, which is run by the same people who run Gamma Sutra. I'm actually subscribed to it, and it's pretty good. Although the typography sometimes gets annoying. Like, just look at that. Like, did you know that that's text? It's not barbed wire. And blogs. There are a lot of great blogs out there that you should start looking for. It doesn't make much sense to have so much drive to work in the industry if you don't know anything about it. So you might as well familiarize yourself with how it works. Do things that prove that you're motivated. So the reason I include that Lego picture up there is because it's really important that you make a solid game, or at least if you make a full game. Like if making a game that you're really serious about and polishing it and making it really stand out, that will almost instantly get you a job. Well, not instantly, but it will almost instantly persuade someone to give you a job. Whether or not you get it will depend on resources and stuff. But there are too many people who you're really serious about the game that you're making, even if it's just a small game, then you will have the motivation to pull through with that game and work on it, even though you're busy with other stuff. Other things to do to prove that you're motivated to. It's not just enough to have the motivation boiling inside you. You have to do something with it that will show people what you can do. Another source is just open source projects if you're a programmer. Something that's really been annoying me is how underemphasized open source projects are in a computer science department. If you want to become a great programmer, open source projects are one of the best things that you can do to practice, because it allows you to read other people's code, people who are better coders than you, and by trying to make a small change to the project, even if you're just fixing a dumb glitch, you will have to read their coding and actually understand it on a deep level so that you can make the necessary changes to it. And just by interacting with code that way, you can learn so much about software engineering and just programming in general. Another one is taking notes. This is mainly for those of us who want to become game designers. Like some of you noticed at the game night that I was carrying around a notebook, and I was actually taking notes on the games that we were playing. Just analyzing them, seeing how they did certain things, trying to think, how did these people design this game this way? Why did they include this mechanic and not this one? Or just simple analysis like that. Yeah, that's one. That's just very important, because you need in terms of game design, there's a lot of bad applicants out there. Like when I've been researching in the web how to become a game designer, there are a lot of people who are just ticked off at how many untalented people there are trying to get into the field. People who don't know anything about the discipline or how to actually design games. And so just keeping a notebook full of stuff. If you go to an interview and you have your notebook with you, like, look at all the notes I took on all these games, you'll instantly tell them, yes, I'm serious about game design, and look how smart I am. And look how long I've been thinking about games every day. It's not just something that I do because I want to get a job. It's something that I like to do in my free time. And another good thing to do is to maintain a blog. You can maintain a blog on anything, whatever discipline you're planning to go into, whether it's game design, programming, art, music, whatever. The good thing about blogs, like I posted, like if any of you read the giant article that I posted on our club website over the break, I said that blogs serve as two things. Or was it two things? It was like they help you look smarter, and they also help you become smarter. Because say you're taking notes, blog is a great way to publish those notes into a good article. Or if you're a programmer, you can write about interesting programming problems that you ran into. There are actually a lot of programmers who, if they run across a problem that they can't find a solution to on the internet, they will post their own solution online, and that alone gives them a good number of hits. Yeah, maintaining a blog is really cool. I have a blog, and it's a lot of fun, even though I write ridiculously deep articles. Some of you are probably thinking that you just don't have enough time to do any of this stuff. Like, it is demanding, but you don't have to do all of it. The point is that you need to do some of it. You need to be driven. That's actually the goal of all this. Where'd the picture go?
There's some driven cats out there.
Oh, well, driven cat is not there. He's too busy working. You can't see it. So yeah, the biggest difference I find between people who are driven and people who are not is that don't have enough time. They say, how can I get more time? How can I manage my time more efficiently to make more time? And that's just an incredibly important mindset to be in if you're going to do any of this stuff that I just mentioned. Otherwise, you won't get anything done. I hope I'm not making it sound easier or harder than it is. But if you're really interested in, if you're dead sure that you're gonna get in the games industry, then you definitely should try to go the extra mile and prove yourself. So now that I've talked about the central theme of the club and what that means for you, I'm going to talk about the club structure and how the club is kind of set up in a way to help facilitate those kinds of habits. So every meeting we hold presentations like this one, and they're student run, which means just any club member can come up here and give a presentation about anything. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it might not be very well managed, but it's always fun. We also do project presentations where everyone in the club working on a project can come up and display how much progress they've made so far and get feedback from the group on how they're managing things. And that's just incredibly helpful because you can be making a mistake that you don't even know about, and then you present it to the club and everyone tells you where to improve. Sometimes we get guest speakers. Like last year we got Riverman Media to come up and the picture isn't showing. Neither is that. Fine. So there's a local company here called Riverman Media. It's a company of 2 people. And last year they came and did a presentation on tips for indie developers. It was actually they made the presentation a couple times before in other places, and it's actually about indie game development. But when they came to our club, it was mostly about like building your first game, managing it with small teams, etc. It was really helpful. Like one of the things that they said was, well, I'll probably post their advice in a future slide here. So that's a tangent. So the other company that showed up was last semester was Kihon Games or Kaihon Games. I don't even know how it's pronounced. But the CEO who came? They're like a team of 4 or 5 people. I really don't know anymore because they've been hiring and doing stuff. So their numbers have been changing. But they did a presentation on career development and how to like set your resumes and your portfolios and networking and how to do that in order to get into the industry. And some of the stuff that they said was cool. Presentations leaderboard. Oh, we also keep score. Who made the most presentations in the club? This is actually the scoreboard for last semester. I had 7 presentations, of course. Part of the reason why I had so many is because I'm the default presenter. So if no one comes up, I have to come up with something fast. Tyler Wallace, he's not here, unfortunately. He made 4. He made 2 project presentations, one on Blender 3D engine, and another on Audacity, and just making sound, like an introduction to working with sound, and recording your own stuff. Dylan's right that guy. The guy with the hair. He made 2 project presentations and Amnesia. We played Amnesia and analyzed it. It was a lot of fun. It was around Halloween. Taylor Paul. Taylor. He made 1 project presentation and 1 on time management. Joseph Tippett, he's not here. I'm surprised. Where are they? They're usually core members. Joseph made 2. It was like 1. I think it was 2 project presentations, but the first one was a pitch. I think. Gregory, also known as Rory, is our treasurer. He's not here because he has class, and his class ended 10 minutes ago. And it's like on the other side of campus, so he'll be here too. Henry Kirchner, one. Project presentation. Presentation two. So these are some of the presentations that I have queued, in a way. They're future presentations that we're going to have this semester, hopefully. Toland's and Ryan's game. So, Ryan, are you here? Raise your hand.
I'm here.
Yeah. Are you here or are you like sneaking? Not going to raise your hand. So, the other day, it was on Friday, I met with them. They're from the Eller College, the Eller Entrepreneurship Program. And some of you may have heard about that already. There are people going around soliciting people to do work for them. So I met with them because they want to make a game or some kind of interactive application that would allow children to learn another language or just language in general. And what I talked to them and I gave them some advice and I recommended that they pitch their idea to the club in case anyone wants to help them with it. Since they don't have any programmers on their team, they could really use them. And it sounds like an interesting project. So you guys could also give them feedback on the game. Tyler Wallace, last semester, like on the last meeting, he said, I'm going to make a presentation analyzing the Civ game. And he's not here, so I can't hold him to it yet. But he seems excited. So our club treasurer, he really wants to do one on Google Summer of Code, which was something that he did last summer, or something that he tried to do last summer. I can't remember if it was last summer or if he was trying to get into it this semester. I don't remember. But he was talking about how important that is and how he was able to learn a ton of stuff from it. And he wanted to help you guys get into it as well.
What is the Google Summer Code?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's you work on some kind of research project,
Okay.
like a really big project. And one of the requirements to get in is to have contributed to some open source project. So that's even better for you guys. And we should also hold project presentations too, especially since the break is over. We could have people present the progress they made or didn't make over the break and learn from that. So everyone's just hearing and breathing. Okay, so that's our treasurer. Say hi.
Hello,
Yeah, we're recording the meetings now.
New Year's resolution, no more elevators.
I just finished talking about it. I was mentioning this. I want to do one on Google Summer Code. Hopefully. Okay. Facebook group. We have hey, this picture didn't show up. Okay, so we have a Facebook group. And if you're not on it, you should join it. It's really awesome because this is like the only reason I go to Facebook now. Just because the group is set up in a way where anyone can just post resources that they come across. Like if you find a great article on something or a video, like here's a video. I recently posted 3 posts, so it looks like I'm the only one there, but that's not how it is. So if you're driven, while you're self-educating, you'll come across some great stuff that you just want to share with everyone else, and this is where to post it. We barely use the listserv. We usually use it only for announcements and important time, basically stuff that has a time limit. We actually have we have 2 members here who are not from the university in our group. One of them is, I can't remember his name, Norway. It might be Paula. get points for anything, even if it's not a resource, you could say, you could just post a slurb of advice, or you could say, like this post if you like my presentation today, and people will like it and you'll get points. And we have another leaderboard for that. This is the leaderboard as of last semester. It doesn't have any of the points that we've accumulated this semester, which I'll show later. So the final results for last semester was Taylor Hall at 31 likes accumulated, and I'm in second place, really close behind. Then there's this huge gap, third place. Dylan, you like stopped completely. like you, I'll show the graph later. It's like he's going up in a straight line. Weston Smith, you zoom in right here, next to the cameraman. Camera gonna move. Yeah, it's moving.
Why do I need to be in the camera?
I'll
I'll
like
put it.
staring at. So the
You can
next
turn
one is
back.
Joseph, and then Greg, 1 point. It's awesome. Tyler May. Tyler May is another officer. He's the marketing guy. He hasn't done much marketing for us because last semester he had a class conflicting with our meetings, and this semester he wants to come to our meeting, but he's not here today because he's in Phoenix right now for some reason. So here's a graph of last semester, and that's Dylan, and you can see the rivalry between me and Taylor. The semester actually cuts off around here, where these 2 weeks are the current semester. And you can see we started rising again. You see, right when I thought I passed him, he jumps up like a mile. So, on the website, I post this graph every week around the time around every meeting. And this is actually the current score right now. This is the all-time graph. We also have another graph which is this semester only, containing the last 2 weeks, but it's not very interesting.